Alright guys, what's going on? This is Ben Herzog back with yet another episode of the Armchair Armdrager podcast. This is episode number 16, and it's been a relatively quiet week on pro wrestling. Not too much has happened. Some stuff here and there. King of the Ring got started. Super J Cup is starting tonight and goes through the weekend from New Japan. But before we get into any sort of topic, as always, there is the Twitter plugs. You can follow myself on Twitter at ChurroSolider. You can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat on Twitter at Things Combat, which is a website where we cover professional wrestling, boxing, and MMA. We also now have a merch store. We don't know how long we're going to keep it up for now. We might let it run for a couple more weeks here. I'll talk to the guys and see what the plan is. We got t-shirts, we got long sleeve shirts, we have hoodies, we have muscle shirts, what else do we have? We have mugs, we got mouse pads, we got hats. We might have more with every relaunch of the store. We'll have to wait and see on that. I'll keep you guys updated as always. I will have a link to it in the description below. Like I said, this is a big step for us. I said this on Twitter. It's a big step for us. This is something we've talked about for a couple months here and there, and now we get to do it, which is a lot of fun. There's also my the writing I do for the Cauldron. School starts back next week, so I'm recording this on the 22nd of August. Excuse me. School starts back up for us on August 26th. So, going back to school then, I start being a sports editor for the Cauldron again. And if you want to see any of our articles, any Cleveland State news, you can follow us at CSU Cauldron. Now, let's get into the long list of topics I have. I don't have much, really, this week. So, King of the Ring got started on Raw. We had 2 first-round matches. Samoa Joe was victorious over Cesaro, and Cedric Alexander was victorious over Sami Zayn. Now that I look at it, and I picked Drew McIntyre and Kevin Owens as the final. We'll get into the SmackDown side a little bit later. Drew McIntyre is facing Ricochet. Winner faces Samoa Joe. Unless they redraw the bracket, I think a lot of people might get their pick wrong. A lot of people might not have picked McIntyre to lose to Ricochet. They wouldn't do Samoa Joe versus Drew McIntyre in the quarterfinals of the tournament, would they? They very well could, and we could all just be overthinking this, but we could see Ricochet get to the quarterfinals, and then it would be Baron Corbin over Miz, and that would set up Ricochet, Joe, and Corbin Alexander on the Raw side, which I'm perfectly fine with. It would give them something to do. But then the semis will be a little bit harder. It will all depend who wins the first quarterfinal that goes on that night. So say if Baron Corbin won, then you would automatically know Ricochet is winning his quarterfinal. But if Cedric Alexander wins, you know Samoa Joe's going to win that quarterfinal, which then asks the question, why the hell would you not just have had McIntyre versus Samoa Joe? Which they still might do, and I could just be completely overthinking this, which I really hope is the case. Then on SmackDown side, you had, let's see, who was the first one? You had Andrade over Apollo Crews in the first round, which was a really good match. And I'm really excited to see what else those two can do as their careers progress in WWE, at least. Who knows what's going to happen with people being upset, blah, 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 backstage issues, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? A lot of people do, actually, to be fair. And Elias beat Kevin Owens. I'm not mad about it. After seeing that happen, my thought is, why is Shane McMahon the only one using his authoritative power, not powder, and he's the only authority figure we're seeing? Why doesn't Stephanie step in? Why doesn't Vince? Why doesn't Triple H? It could all be solved that way, and that's the whole way we get Shane McMahon off of our screen. And I look at it, they could easily do that, reverse it, but now they have a face versus face match in the first round on SmackDown side. There's also the other match in the bottom half of the bracket, which I'm trying to remember. Shelton Benjamin versus Chad Gable. I think Gable's going to win that one. And then Andrade will beat him to get to the semis. And that's when they give Andrade a pretty good match with probably either Buddy Murphy or Ali. And I will say these past 2 weeks have made Buddy Murphy a household star. Everybody knows who Buddy Murphy is now. This is a guy who went from being an afterthought in NXT, making weight to be on 205 Live. I have a before and after picture. I can show you just exactly how Buddy Murphy made weight. Him, Cedric Alexander, and Mike Kanellis are actually at that weight to be on 205 Live, which is insane to think about. There was also, in these past 2 weeks, he's faced Roman Reigns. Buddy Murphy faced Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan. He looked phenomenal against Roman. He looked great against Daniel Bryan. He beat a five-time world champion. If that doesn't say we believe in this guy, I don't know what could. I think Buddy Murphy is going to be a star. If he's not Intercontinental Champion by this time next year, I will be very surprised. At least once or twice, depending on how things go. But him versus Ali now is going to be, we like Ali and we like Murphy. So, there you go. Now, the SmackDown side can be a little bit clearer because 2 heels won in the first round, so it's going to be 2 faces winning the other 2 first round matches, which is Chad Gable. The only real question mark is Ali versus Murphy. Because if they say we're changing our mind, we're going with Murphy, that could change the entire bracket. But we'll have to wait and see on that. What else? Like I said, Super J Cup starts tonight when I'm recording this and goes throughout the weekend. The last day is the 25th, I believe. I know I keep going back to this because I need a different article that went up today, which is breaking down predicting the Super J Cup. Excuse me. The last day is the 25th. So that would be Sunday. Now, I look at it. New Japan understands tournaments and how to get people interested. They do have the young lion in Clark Connors in the tournament. They have a guy who's never been, 2 guys who have never been in a New Japan ring, I believe, in Amazing Red and TJP. TJP was the big surprise of the tournament, and so was Amazing Red, to be fair. And then you have the typical crop you see in New Japan. You had Phantasmo, Ishimori, Ospreay, other guys, Rocky Romero-Bushi, Gresham. We saw him a lot during the Best of Super Juniors. Taguchi's in there. And then you had CMLL guys with Dragon Lee, Callistico, I believe is how you pronounce it. And I believe it was Sambaro Jr.? I'm probably completely wrong with these pronunciations because I've not really seen a lot of these guys. Yeah, Callistico and Sobernaro Jr. There we go. So you're going to see a lot of that. It's going to be a good little weekend of wrestling here. Now, let's talk about the big news that happened this week. It was announced that NXT is going to the USA Network on a 2-hour time slot on Wednesdays it's going to be running head-to-head with AEW. Now, is this WWE starting this war, quote-unquote, kind of early? A little bit, to be fair. But I look at it, it kind of makes sense, too. They got $50 million to move it to the USA Network. Sure. I understand Fox is mad, but you have to deal with college basketball. You have to make the Big East change its whole schedule. So, sorry, you're not getting NXT. Now, the tough part is, I look at it, this is kind of the start of the war, but also has been a move I think they've been thinking about for quite a while. And I'm totally fine if that is the case, because of the fact that they've considered this move and now they're finally acting on it. So I look at it, this is going to get NXT guys a lot of exposure. It's going to get them a lot of people having their eyes on the product. And with people like Shayna Baszler and Johnny Gargano sticking around, it gives them a chance to even be seen by a wider audience. It's still going to be at Full Sail from what I remember reading. It's not leaving its home. It's just going to be live weekly. So that's also going to raise up ticket prices, possibly. I don't know what the average ticket would go for at a takeover, at a Full Sail taping. But tickets are going to be a weekly thing now, which means more ticket revenue for WWE and for Full Sail University. There's also going to be, there now has to be more of a focus on certain divisions. And like I said, the women's division, Shayna Baszler has pretty much run through everybody except for Dakota Kai. Now, is Dakota Kai going to be the one to dethrone Shayna Baszler? Maybe. I did come up with a scenario where I could actually see it being Toni Storm. Let me explain. Toni Storm loses the NXT UK Women's Championship to Kaylee Ray. Kaylee Ray, not Kylie. Kaylee Ray. Yeah, that one. And she then moves from NXT UK to NXT, much like Pete Dunne did. Because Pete Dunne is still listed on the NXT North American roster. I'm just going to call it the NXT North American roster because as of right now, there's no NXT Canada or NXT Mexico. I know there are talks of setting up NXT Canada. And also there have been talks of possibly, I read this, I don't remember the exact source, so I don't know how true it is. WWE was talking to CMLL to try and set up a working relationship. Problem is, CMLL already has a working relationship, with New Japan. So, we'll see how that works out. We'll see if ties get severed, then what does New Japan do? If ties don't get severed, where does WWE go? CMLL is busy with New Japan. AAA is busy with AEW. What Mexican promotion, Mexican-based promotion would they go after? Off the top of my head, there's always there's a third one. I never remember who it is. And it always annoys me. I'll probably remember it like as soon as I finish recording and not remember where this is at. Well. So, I could see Toni Storm pulling a Pete Dunne. Whereas also that she's run through a lot of the women's division there too, to be fair. I know Kaylee is the only one on there besides Piper Niven or Viper or whatever her name is. I haven't seen an episode of NXT UK yet, partly because I'm super busy with work. So I don't know what her name is over there. Storm's beaten Rhea Ripley. She beat Xia Brookside. She beat Killer Kelly. She beat Ginny. She beat a couple other people too. So there's not really much left over there for Toni Storm to do other than her actually moving to NXT North America to face Shayna Baszler. And then she can be the one who passes the NXT title, the NXT Women's title, to Io Shirai. So I can see that kind of happening. Now, there also now needs to be a focus on the tag team division. AEW has gone out and said we are focusing on our tag team division. I really think they're just going to give the titles to the Young Bucks, but that's me. I've said this a lot, but I do think it could happen. I see right now in NXT we have the Street Profits who, spoilers here for the NXT tapings that haven't aired yet. Street Profits lost the tag team titles back to Undisputed Era. But despite that, it's still said they're going to stick around in NXT. So, you have the Street Profits, you have Undisputed Era, that's really your whole tag team division. You have Forgotten Sons and Fashion Police. I don't know Brizonga. That was what they were. You still have them, yes. So you could make that work. That's 4 teams, but there are plenty of guys in NXT that aren't doing anything. I put this idea out there last week. Isaiah Scott, Jordan Miles. You could put Bronson Reed with one of the other Australians. I believe it was Brandon Verk, who I was really impressed with at the PC Combine. So I really want to see more and more from him. Now, that would be a 5th team. A 6th team would be Isaiah Scott and Jordan Miles. You can easily start introducing teams and getting people to know them. Lorcan and Birch could stick around. And now there's rumors going around too that 205 Live might be ending. If that's the case, there's 3 hours on Raw to fill. There's rumored to be 3 hours on SmackDown to fill when it moves to Fox. So Cruiserweight's go on one of those shows. Done. Problem solved. So they could also use the Cruiserweights on 205 Live. Not on 205 Live, duh. NXT. They could use them on NXT. So that could work, I guess, maybe. It's a weird line they're walking right now. So let's see what their plan is going forward. And I will say I'm not going to pick a side in the WWE versus AEW war. I think it's just nice to see pro wrestling. I want to see people like pro wrestling. I want to see pro wrestling succeed and thrive. That is the goal I have. And I think we're going to see that. We're going to see a good show from both sides. Like actual competition on North American soil will push WWE. AEW trying to catch WWE after 20 some odd years is going to push AEW. And we're just going to be able to sit back, watch, and enjoy pro wrestling. You can record whichever show you want. I'll watch the first NXT live from Full Sail on the USA Network. I'll watch the first live AEW. I'll decide which one I like better then. If I choose AEW, then I can just watch NXT on the network the next day. Or if I choose NXT, I can just watch AEW somewhere because someone's going to illegally upload it. And a whole bunch of people on Twitter are probably going to share the links. Now, again, like I said, AEW has to focus on the women's division. They're setting something up that I don't think really helps with that. And that's the Casino Battle Royal for the women's division. Where the winner gets the first shot at the AEW Women's Championship. If the winner gets the first shot, are they just going to get on the mat and get in the ring and win the tournament? Or win the match because there's no other person? You'd have to hold a completely separate battle royal to determine the second challenger. To crown a first champion, you need 2 people. You can't just have somebody win it once. If the Casino Battle Royal was to determine the first ever AEW Women's Champion, then that would totally make sense. The winner of the Battle Royal just gets a title shot. So, say one person goes through 20 other women, and then you get to the actual show, and you just hand somebody else a title shot. Somebody worked to beat 20 other women, where somebody else just sat backstage and ate paste. Really? That's how you're going to work this? There's stuff with AEW where I kind of don't get it yet. Like, yes, I'm excited to see them give women opportunities that had never had them before. I believe, Velvet Piper, I think her name is. I have it pulled up. I was trying to remember off the top of my head. I don't have it remembered. I don't want that one. I want... Where's my All Out tab? Damn it, I closed it. What do I not need? I don't need Ishimori. AEW. All Out. Storylines, matches. Yeah, Teal Piper was announced for the tournament. or for the match, which is Roddy Piper's daughter, Nyla Rose, Britt Baker, Yuka Sakazaki. There we go. Allie, Brandy Rhodes, Steel Piper, Evil East, Jazz, Big Swole, Ariel Monroe from the Mae Young Classic, for those of you that remember her from last year's tournament, and Sadie Gibbs, have all been announced for the tournament, or for the Battle Royal, I should say. It's starting to fill up. There's some interesting names in there. Obviously, the immediate favorites are Britt Baker, Allie, unfortunately, Brandy Rose. Oh, Jazz is in there too. And Sadie Gibbs, because Sadie Gibbs had a package at Double or Nothing. So now we get to see what she can do in the ring. She might have had a match at one of the other shows. I don't remember offhand. So we'll see. I'm just curious, how are they going to figure out who's the other person? Right now, not confirmed for the Battle Royal. They're probably going to confirm this tomorrow morning, for all I know. Is B. Priestley. So we'll see that. I think we still have a weekend before. Duh, I'm recording this on Thursday. Of course we have a weekend before the actual shows. So, predictions and all that would be next week. This is kind of like the in-between week, like the buffer week, I guess, for lack of a better term. So, what else? What else is there to complain about? What else is there to talk about? Oh, this idea. I kind of saw it on Twitter, and I also kind of had this idea too. With WWE holding the King of the Ring tournament right now, what if we held a Queen of the Ring tournament? Because I've talked about this ad nauseum. I'm upset we're not getting Evolution 2 this year. A lot of other people are upset we're not getting Evolution 2 this year. But it seems like it's facts, which is very annoying. But it's what we have to deal with, because it's pro wrestling. Pro wrestling is just like the normal world. You don't always get your way. So, what if instead of Evolution 2, we got a Queen of the Ring tournament, winner crowned at probably TLC. And that winner would get, because I'm pretty sure the King of the Ring winner is going to get a world title shot. I'm pretty sure. What if, for the Queen of the Ring, the winner gets the number 30 entrant spot in the Women's Royal Rumble match? That would be something at least worth fighting for. And you can include NXT and NXT UK. Because I will say, NXT UK does have some very talented women. I already mentioned Toni Storm, Kylie Ray, Piper Niven, and Rhea Ripley. Zaya Brookside's really talented. Killer Kelly's very underrated. So all those women could be fighting for a spot. And it would give the women NXT UK who are doing nothing something to do. We could see Killer Kelly have a match, actually. Because I think maybe she's had like one or two on actual TV. And you could also see, like, who's some women in NXT that are doing nothing? Xia Li comes to mind, Tanara Conti. Bianca Belair really hasn't had much to do recently. Who else? Mia Yim doesn't have anything now. Candice LeRae kind of doesn't really have as much momentum right now as she could. There's probably a couple others I'm just forgetting. Anybody that just signed Santana Garrett. So we could see all of them possibly in a Queen of the Ring tournament. Obviously, you probably want to have Charlotte Flair, who I'm not very happy is back in the title picture already. I said on Twitter, and I think people agree, she doesn't need a title for us to know how good she is. Just let us enjoy Bayley as champion. We haven't gotten to enjoy this as much as we should have. And I look at it, the Raw Women's Division doesn't really have that much talent right now. When you compare Raw and SmackDown in the Women's Division, SmackDown clearly has the talent edge. You have Asuka, Kairi Sane, Bayley, Ember Moon, Liv Morgan is really talented. Charlotte Flair, obviously. Zelina Vega is very underrated. Carmella, who is on vacation this week with Corey Graves in Jamaica, which is why we didn't see her with R-Truth at all. And then on Raw, talent-wise, it goes Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Ruby Riott are like the top three. If you give Ruby Riott time, she is a very talented wrestler. I will defend that to my grave. She is somebody who just needs an opportunity. And then it kind of really dips off. You have Dana Brooke. Natalia's got this injury angle, so I don't know if she would be cleared in time. Lacey Evans is in that group too. Naomi, unfortunately. I feel like Naomi is somebody who can work. It's just she doesn't get time or an opportunity. She had 2 runs as SmackDown Women's Champion, and both were pretty short. Not too much happened. Who else? Sarah Logan, we haven't seen much of her recently. I think I already said Dana Brooke. So yeah, like, you look at the Raw and SmackDown Women's Division, SmackDown clearly outweighs Raw. So, to that sense, Raw is lacking in star power in the Women's Division. So, you would think maybe a Queen of the Ring would be a good idea if you had the right amount of wrestlers. And you could even... Oh, would that work? Yeah, you hold a 16-person tournament. No, they have 8 in the King of the Ring. So you have an 8-person tournament. 2 from Raw, 2 from SmackDown, 2 from NXT, 2 from NXT UK. The winners of Raw and SmackDown meet up the week before. You could even do it 2 weeks before TLC. Same with NXT and NXT UK. They meet on NXT Live on USA. And the winners meet each other at the Royal Rumble. Not the Royal Rumble, at TLC. There we go. Bam. There's how you do it, Vince. Now that I'm thinking about NXT Canada and NXT Mexico, and possibly even NXT Japan, NXT Europe, and NXT Japan, could we see more takeovers with this amount of money being put into NXT? Now, we get 5 right now for normal NXT. For North American UXT. For North American NXT. We've had 2 so far for NXT UK. And that was 2 this year. We could get... I'm going to say 1 more. And that one would probably be in Scotland. And then next year we start Northern Ireland or something. I don't know. Or Ireland itself, because they're including that in there. So that would be 4... No, that would be 3 a year from them. So we would see like 3 from the other ones. So we'd see like 3 from NXT Japan, 3 from NXT Canada, 3 from NXT Mexico, 3 from NXT Europe. And while that does sound like it could be a challenge, there's plenty of countries to go to in Europe. You have 20 some odd, maybe 40. It also depends where they include Russia. It's like I even know like Russia, like the border is weird with them, Asia, and Europe. So, if you include Russia, that thing brings up to like 30, high 30s. Japan, you could include like China, Thailand, maybe, the Philippines. I would love to see an NXT Australia, to be fair. There you can see Brisbane, Melbourne, New South Wales. I was trying to remember the name of it. And there's probably a couple, Perth comes to mind. There's a couple others in there too. Canada, you have 5 provinces. You could include 5 major cities in there easily. Winnipeg, Toronto, Calgary. That's 3 right there. Niagara Falls even, consider it. Could be a cool little logo with the waterfall. And NXT Mexico, there's Chihuahua, Mexico City. You could just do NXT Latin America. Include Guatemala, Panama, all the other countries in the Central America that I'm forgetting. I'm sorry. I feel like an NXT takeover of professional wrestling is not the worst idea. To me, I've kind of like defended this from the start, and I've not been able to express my reasons why, because the 260 or whatever the number, 240, whatever the number is in Twitter, character limit. There's not enough characters for me to describe the reason why this is not a bad thing. Here's why. You take NXT North America, for example. Yeah, we had some talent coming in here and there. So WWE kind of started to run North America. We ended up getting the likes of Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish. Kushida eventually came over from Japan. So the reason why that's a good thing that all these big names are coming in is that the independent companies can't book them. Why is that a good thing, you ask? Because they can start to make other stars. We can start to see people become interesting and become people that become wrestlers that can be that big name that they've always dreamed of and give them an opportunity. Look, best example I can think of this right now, look at Punishment Martinez, or now as he's known, Damian Priest. A couple of years ago, or last year even, yeah, it was last year at the Ring of Honor show wasn't New York, in Louisiana. They had Punishment Martinez versus Tomohiro Ishii in a normal one-on-one match for whatever reason. And Punishment Martinez looked pretty good in that match. And they made him look like a big deal with a special entrance. So I look at this as a way to make new stars. Why do you think Austin Theory became such a household name? Why do you think people like Sonata became really good? People from All Japan were leaving. They needed to get new stars. Sonata just happened to be there. And now Sonata's in New Japan wasting his talent. I'm sorry, I just want Sonata out of New Japan. I just don't trust them with him. I'm starting not to trust them with anybody in LIJ, and I feel nervous that I picked Bushi to win the whole tournament. The whole Super J Cup that's starting tonight. Now, I look at it, while a bunch of NXTs could be a bad thing, you can also think about it this way. You could have an NXT binge. You could sit down. Every other NXT is still going to be taped from what I know. NXT UK has nothing to do with NXT going to the USA Network. They probably wouldn't air it anyway because it has UK in the name. So you have all this talent that WWE is using. And you go out and you make your own talent if you're like, I'm trying to remember every single wrestling promotion I've ever heard of. If you're like Defy Wrestling, if you're Smash Wrestling in Canada, even if you're Progress, there's a reason they hold their Natural Progression tournament every year, because they use that to show new stars. That's where the likes of Drew Parker and Chris Ridgway came from. And Ridgway just went to Pro Wrestling Noah and had a great showing in their junior heavyweight tournament. And I look at it, this can be done well. They just need to do it right. And while, yeah, I don't mind the working relationship and everything, I would love to see more Evolve on the network. I'd love to see ICW, Progress. There's one I keep forgetting. Evolve, ICW, Progress. I can't remember who else WWE has a working relationship with. And you can see more of that. You could see all this talent and find new favorite wrestlers. That's how I found the likes of Travis Banks. That's how I found Tony Storm at first. And you always hear people's names, but you never see them because they're not in WWE. That's how I went and found Travis Banks. I went to demandprogress.com or whatever the website is, and that's how I saw Travis Banks wrestle for the first time. That's how I saw Tony Storm wrestle for the first time. You get to watch these wrestlers for the first time, and you can see why people get new favorites. That's the reason I want NXT Australia. I know there's so much untapped potential in Australia. And the one I keep going back to is a guy who I was a fan of because of his match in Progress that I saw, Adam Brooks. That guy is such an amazing talent. All he needs is an opportunity. And he will take that ball and run with it. I think NXT global expansion would not be the end of pro wrestling as we know it. It would be helpful to pro wrestling because more people get the chance to become the star that they've always wanted to, and it's an opportunity you wouldn't have seen 15, 20 years ago back in the days of the territories. And now you look at it too, NWA, the National Wrestling Alliance, is coming back to TV at some point here soon. So we're going to see Billy Corgan, who did a really good job running Impact for a little while, run the NWA. We're going to see Nick Aldis show the world just how good the NWA Championship still is. Just how prestigious it can still be. Ring of Honor, you had the likes of Marty Scurll, you have Brody King, PCO, Flip Gordon, as in the entirety of Villain Enterprises, Jay Lethal, Matt Taven, Jeff Cobb. You have all these amazing talents. You then go over to Japan, you look at all the talent in New Japan. You look at all the talent in Pro Wrestling Noah, in Dragon Gate, in All Japan. You have all this amazing talent that is on these rosters stacked from top to bottom. Well, yes, WWE having 200 plus wrestlers signed is a lot. And yes, they could easily give back. You could let Apollo Crews or Andrade go back to wrestling for different promotions around the world. It would be a very tough let go, but you could do it. It's something that I feel could be done. And I've thrown this idea around to friends before. What if we got just a pro wrestling network? Like a Netflix for pro wrestling. And while yes, there would be live action stuff from a little bit here, a little bit there. Like you would see like WWE would be on there live for pay-per-views. You would see like, oh, WWE just went live with SummerSlam, and then like a week later, oh hey, here's Impact Wrestling. And you can pick and choose what you want to watch. I would probably be on there 24/7 because I watch way too much pro wrestling as it is. You could go and see promotions you've always wanted to see. I've always wanted to see All Japan Pro Wrestling and Pro Wrestling Noah. I've wanted to see Rev Pro. I've wanted to see all the wrestling in Canada, Mexico, Australia. There's so much talent around the world that you can look and watch and see. It's what I'm going to do with Disney Plus when it comes out. For those of you that don't know, I'm a big comic book guy. I love watching comic book movies. I love reading comic books whenever I get time or money. I just love diving into an alternate universe where superheroes and supervillains are real. The superheroes come out on top. And on Disney Plus, there's going to be all these series that are coming out. I know Falcon and the Winter Soldier are getting a series. I know WandaVision is going to be a series starring Scarlet Witch and Vision. Hawkeye is getting a series. Loki's getting a series. And if rumors are to believed to be true, I haven't seen any news about it from D23 yet. And I feel like it'll be all over the internet if this was true. If we are getting an Obi-Wan series for Disney Plus, which is based, for those that don't know, is based off the Star Wars character Obi-Wan Kenobi, who has a lot of backstory that nobody knows. Also, I just want to have an excuse to watch more Ewan McGregor. I really like Ewan McGregor. I want more of him. If we get all these shows, what I'm going to do is spread it out through the week. Not a lot of these that I know of are debuting on launch. So, like say Scarlet Vision comes out, or no, WandaVision, excuse me. Say that comes out on like some week in November, which is near launch. So let's say one of them launches on launch day, which would be Scarlet Vision. I would pick a day of the week that I have nothing going on. Right now, that would be Sunday night, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays or Saturdays. Now, if there's like a WWE pay-per-view, a AEW pay-per-view, or another pay-per-view we want to cover, yeah, we'll go cover that. But if I don't have anything to do those nights, I'll just watch I don't hate binge watching, but I would sit there on like a certain day of the week and watch a show, just like a normal TV show. And I could do that with a pro wrestling network, a pro wrestling Netflix, for lack of a better term. You would see like, oh hey, All Japan just wrapped a show, but I'm a little busy right now. I'm not busy on Thursday night. I could watch the show then. Or, oh, hey, look, these two shows dropped. I have 2 free days coming up. I'll watch one here and one there. It could be that simple. It could be that simple, but it's probably not because of semantics and numbers and all these companies wanting to be happy. So it's a long process that could eventually happen at some point. Will it ever happen? I highly doubt it. But if we could get, like say the WWE Network does start to show more Evolve progress. WXW, West Side Extreme Wrestling, that's what it was. That's not what it stands for. Is it? Hold on. Where's the WXW? Cage match. Cage match help. Not the X yet. WXW. West Side. Yeah, it is West Side Extreme Wrestling. Okay. So yeah, since like WWE on the network starts showing Evolve, WXW, Progress, and ICW, then we could kind of see the start of that. And if AEW, when they get their own streaming service, which is probably going to happen, we could see the likes of AEW, OWE, and AAA on that network. And we could see a lot more guys. We could see a lot more CIMA, and I've been a big fan of CIMA since seeing him at Double or Nothing. That's... Who knows if when that happens, that'll probably be a big thing. I'm imagining on, that show they do, Being the Elite. You can tell I don't watch it normally. I don't have the time. I'm very busy. I'm always trying to keep my hands busy on something. I'm always trying to work on something, which is partly why I started this podcast. I've always wanted to start this podcast, but now it's something to work on. So we're eventually going to see more and more working relationships with WWE and AEW, for that matter. There are some big companies still out there that they could see. I still say I would love to see a WWE and New Japan deal. And like the deal wouldn't be, say, like, oh, we have a deal where you can show your stuff on our network and we'll show our stuff on your network or anything like that. No. I'm saying, what if we take, first off, cruiserweights that are doing nothing to compete in the best of the Super Juniors? Then we could see, like, maybe Drew Gulak's in the best of the Super Juniors. Maybe, if he's doing nothing, Adam Cole. Or even, this is the one I would really like to see because I want to see him versus Ishimori, Johnny Gargano. We could see all those guys go over to Japan to be part of that tournament. And then main event guys who are doing nothing. Say, like, Kevin Owens doesn't have a feud currently. The Miz doesn't have a feud currently. Shinsuke Nakamura doesn't have a feud currently, even though they all do now on WWE TV. But in this hypothetical world that I made up in my head, what if they're all doing nothing and they get to go compete in the G1 Climax? Well, yes, we wouldn't see the likes of maybe Sonata or anybody else that's a free agent, reportedly. Then we could see some guys from WWE in that tournament. It's a very it's a very thin line they would be walking, and it's probably something that would never work, but I would just love to see it somehow, some way come together. That would be something to talk about. And plus, like I've said this a lot, I want to see a women's division in New Japan. Is it breaking tradition? Somewhat. Like, yes, I understand that in Japan, there's always been two promotions, one for the men, one for the women. So pretty much, New Japan is to Stardom as what Stardom is to New Japan. They are the exact same. It's just one has men, one has women. Just get a working relationship with those two, put them together, and we could see the first ever New Japan Women's Division. And it could be a whole big deal. It would get so much media coverage, at least from the sports outlets, and probably a ton in just Japan in general. So it would be something worth watching and seeing how it develops. That is really all I can think of for this week. I actually managed to stretch this longer than I thought. I thought I was going to have to tap out after like 20 minutes. There wasn't really much going on this week. Next week's going to be a lot busier. We're going to have triple breaking downs and predicting of the match cards of NXT UK Takeover Cardiff, Royal Quest from New Japan, and AEW All Out. All those happening on the same day. Triple coverage on All Things Combat. So go follow us over there. I'll hopefully be live tweeting them all. I know the one, I think it's Takeover Cardiff, that starts at like 1 Eastern time. I'll still be at work till 2:30. So I'll try and cover it as best as I can. It might start at like 2 o'clock, so I might only miss like a match and a half. Technically, because I do have the app. So we'll see how that goes. I believe I should be home in time to watch Royal Quest, and I should have plenty of time to relax, maybe even take a nap and eat dinner before All Out. So that's going to be a busy weekend for us. We'll have all that breaking down, predicting on Thursday. I will probably be recording it roughly around this time again. It's early evening here because of the fact that I do start school back up, so I do have to kind of put this as a focus. This will still be a weekly podcast. I don't plan on this going anywhere. Episodes will still drop every single Friday on YouTube for free. If you liked what you heard here, leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to talk about something, I'm always down to just talk about pro wrestling or just stuff in general. You can follow me on Twitter at ChurroSolid, or you can follow this podcast at Podcast Armchair. You can follow All Things Combat, which I already mentioned that we're doing triple coverage on. Over at Things Combat, we also cover boxing and MMA on top of pro wrestling. And I am the sports editor at The Cauldron. With school starting back up, we're going to start covering a lot more sports, a lot more news stories, a lot of the arts and entertainment stuff going around on campus, plus so much more. So you can follow us on Twitter at CSU Cauldron to see all the late-breaking CSU news that we can find, and all the articles that we put up throughout the semester. Oh yeah, merch. I am part of a company that has merch now. You can follow the link on our pinned tweet on Things Combat to get to the Spreadshirt, or you can go to the website, which is shop.spreadshirt.com.uk, since they're based out of the UK, / all things combat, and it will take you directly to the site. We got hoodies, we got hats, we got shirts, we have coffee mugs, we got mouse pads, we had something else I thought was funny that I forgot. Phone cases. I forgot to mention that earlier. We have phone cases. Not for my phone, though. Seriously, I talked to the guys after the day we launched, and we got to see the stuff on the shirt on the site. I said they have the 7S or the S7. No, it's the 7S and they had the 7 and the 9 for the Galaxy. I have the 8. So the one that I have, we don't have a phone case for, and I've been looking for a new phone case. Great. So next launch, we will probably have Galaxy 8 phone cases. What else do we have? I'm going to try and have them extend the shop to be next Friday, just so that way more people can go out and buy shirts or hoodies or hats or whatever. And yeah, like I said, like, comment, subscribe if you feel like it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Next week, triple coverage, predictions, everything. It's going to be a busy day on All Things Combat. I'll probably have 3 articles to retweet on the Friday. So, great. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys next week with a very, very busy week of pro wrestling.